speaking of love pups, I had a big situation yesterday where I had to go pick up some dogs. It was a weird situation yesterday for me because if you can remember about a year ago, I talked to this woman named Pat. Pat was dying of cancer, and she knew what my wife and I were doing with Love Pup, and she has these two big dogs. She said, I'm dying, and I want you to take my dogs and promise me you'll find a home for them and take care of them. And I promised her that. Well, she's in hospice right now. They took her off all the machines, and so I had to go get her dogs yesterday. At the same time, she's 2 hours south of where we are. At the same time, I also had to pick up a car that I borrowed from somebody. I borrowed from my friend Pat Hickey, who owns Peoria Ford. He let me borrow an Expedition because I needed to get all these puppies to Las Vegas for the iHeartRadio Music Festival, right? So, my friend Pat let me borrow the Expedition. What I didn't tell Pat was that I wasn't going to be driving the car. Right? So he has me under insurance. So I kind of pulled a little fast one there on him.
Kind of.
Yeah, so I had some volunteers for Love Pup drive it. But they were 2 hours south. So I had some other volunteers drive the car south. So you follow me now? Does it make sense? So the car that I borrowed is 2 hours south of where I am. Okay?
Sure.
They drove it to Las Vegas. Then they drove it back 2 hours south of where I am. So now I had to get the car. Since I was going to get the car, I was also going to pick up Pat's two dogs. Do you follow me?
Yes.
It's a lot of chaos is what you're hearing here.
So I needed a ride to go get that Expedition. And I didn't know how to get down there. So Rich said he would take me down there. So yesterday, Rich drove me 2 hours south to go get the Expedition. And it was a 2-hour drive. And then I had to pick up two puppies and I had to pick up the two dogs from Pat, who's passed away. Rich dropped me off I was going to meet someone with my car, with the car I was borrowing. So he drops me off, and he leaves. And when you left, I was like, I can't believe he just left.
What was he supposed to? I mean, he already drove you 2 hours south.
Right.
And then he's got to drive 2 hours back. But Rich, you weren't going there.
No.
You just did that just to be nice.
Right. Yeah, well, Johnjay's like, what do I do? Do I put out an all-staff email? I'm like, where are you going? He's like, I go 2 hours south. I'm like, let's go. Now, sure, I had to cancel a few things, but they were things I didn't want to do anyway. Like a workout.
That was very kind of you to drive me.
Really nice.
But I thought he drove me 2 hours, and the person I was supposed to meet wasn't there yet. So I just got out of the car, and he just left. And what's funny is he dropped me off, and I was going to tell him, hey, you don't have to stay, take off.
You did say that.
I know, but he took off. I was saying, you don't have to.
So when you said you don't have to stay, you can take off, did you want him to say, no, man, I'll hang out just to make sure they get here?
I wanted him to stay so then I could say take off. But he was taken off already. So then as he was taking off, I said, you don't have to stay. So I thought, kind of like, when you have a babysitter, you park, the babysitter gets out, or someone's picking up the babysitter, you wait for them to get in the car so they're safe. He didn't wait for me to be safe.
Oh.
It's not like you were in a bad neighborhood. You were in front of a very nice restaurant.
How rude.
There was a sushi
Rich.
restaurant and a Starbucks.
So what happened, Kyle, if you want to hear the alternative true version of that, is we had a lovely drive down. We were listening to a bunch of radio shows, talking about radio, hanging out, just buds hanging out, and we get to the location. We get there even almost to the minute of when I said I would get us there, and I sped to get there on time, by the way, which I don't like to do. So I speed, and then I stop the truck. Johnjay gets out of the truck, the F-150. I get out of the F-150, and I'm hanging out for a second, and he says, they should be here any second. Thanks a bunch. You don't have to hang up. And I'm like, okay. You're on your own. See you later.
See, I didn't see it like that. I don't even remember him getting out of the car. I don't remember you getting out of the car.
I did actually stop the truck and got out like, okay, what do we do now? Do we wait around? I go, are you going to be okay? You're like, yeah, you can take off. So I took off.
The people I was meeting, by the way, they didn't show up for another 45 minutes.
Oh, that stinks.
And I had to pee so bad, and there was a Starbucks there, so I went to go pee. And then what's funny is the Starbucks, you know how people just chill at Starbucks? So I go to the bathroom there, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to chill and get on my phone. And there was a nice, comfy, lounge chair. So I sit in the lounge chair. As soon as I sit in the lounge chair, there's a guy standing by the garbage. He goes, "That's my chair." It's like, oh my God. I'm sorry, man. And another guy sitting goes, "That's his chair." I'm like, all right, sorry, dude. So anyway, they show up. The girl Amy, who works for the Sanctuary Project, she shows up in the expedition. I take the expedition. I go pick up Pat's dogs. They're massive. There's a video on my Instagram. These dogs lived in a tiny little room, a studio. and she never really walked them, and she just fed them. And they're big, massive 100-pound dogs. You got to see these dogs. I've never seen dogs this big in my life, and they're the most loving, beautiful dogs ever. So I take them with 2 puppies back to my house. I get home, the dogs are beautiful. They get along with all my dogs, and they're just hanging out in my house. My kids love these dogs. They've never seen anything like them. They're like playing with them like they're giant bears. So I drive the dog. I drop off the dogs. Then I got to drive, take my son Kemp to basketball practice, which got pushed back till late. So we didn't get home from basketball practice till about 9:15 last night. Ooh. So I realized once I pull into my house in the Expedition that my car is still at the radio station, right? It's 9:15 now. My garage door is open. So I'm going to pull into the garage and then back out, kind of like a 3-point turn. And when I back out of the car, out of the garage, I turn the Expedition wheels and I scrape the side of the car on the wall.
My goodness.
And I'm like, this car made it 4,000 miles to Tucson, to Vegas, to Phoenix, to whatever, with different people driving it that aren't insured. Not a scratch on the car. Transporting all kinds of dogs. I'm done driving this car. I'm just backing out of the driveway. And I just the whole side. And I'm like, oh my God. So then I'm like, I had this awful pain. And to protect myself, to protect the other people driving the car, because I didn't want to turn into Pat, the owner, and him go, somebody else did that. I wanted proof. No, it was me that did it. So I went to my son, Kemp, who was with me at the time, and I said, I wanted to document him. And so I said to Kemp, I go, Kemp, what happened here? So when I showed my wife what happened, I go, look, I look what I did to this car. Here's the video of what I did to the car. She didn't really care what I did to the car. She was laughing at what Kemp said to me.
Dear Pat Hickey, I just did this to your bumper. I am so sorry. I just did it backing out of my garage, trying to park the car properly. Damn it. See, I hit this thing over here. Kemp, come over here and tell Pat Hickey what just happened. This is the second time I've done this.
Dad, I think you might be the worst driver ever. Like, actually.
What happened?
You're going out and you hit the side of the thing. Right after we almost ran out of gas because you're an irresponsible driver.
Thank you, son. Thank you so much for that wonderful eyewitness account.
My 13-year-old calls me an irresponsible driver. We were driving back on fumes, and he was so nervous. I was like, dude, son, you need to learn to live a little bit out of your element and not be comfortable with things. It's good. And he goes, how many times have you run out of gas? I go, like 4 or 5 times in my life. And he goes, will Mom pick you up? I said, absolutely not. Mom hates it when I run out of gas. It's irresponsible. And he was starting to freak out. And I was giving it. So how's it made you? I go, it's going to make you a better person when you run out of gas. And he goes, has it made you a better person? I go, of course it has. And then anyway, then I crashed into the thing. So now,